What are you talking about? And that is what you want to know. Of course, that is what I don't know.
Mr. Tisha, I would never do that unless you put me to the war. Sukasa es mi casa.
Are you kidding me?
Why would my mother be dropping Farah and yet she's no longer living in our house?
You know, that day he was acting Ambiti Kenji. I couldn't remember this woman. Kumbe she is your mother.
Mr. Tisha, I think you will have to excuse me. I will be back in 1 minute. I will be back.
Eight-time CAF Champions League winners Al Ahly of Egypt inched closer to qualifying for the finals of the prestigious cup when they humbled twice champions Wydad Casablanca by 2-0 in the first leg semi-final encounter played last Saturday in Morocco.
You've got to be careful. Oh, it's an easy chance. This is one-on-one with the goalkeeper. It's in the back of the net. There's your goal. To make it 2-0 for Ali. Ali Malou, he slots it in, blasts into the corner.
This Friday, the 23rd of October 2020, Al Ahly hosts Wydad in the second leg semi-final clash. The match kicks off at 10 p.m. Catch the action live on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
The procedure of reporting assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority is simplified in the following easy steps. Step 1. Write an email to holders at ufaa.go.ke to request your profile to be created. Step 2. A link will be sent to the email provided for activation of the account. Step 3. Click on the link to activate the profile and change the password immediately. Step 4. For subsequent access, use the link provided here. In case of forgotten password, use Forgot Password link to create a new one. Step 5. After login, click on Assets to submit records, and if the client has subsidiary, you can create more users and manage users. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Good evening. This is Channel 1 News Hour. We trust you've had a lovely day. It is the 23rd day of October and we have so much in store for you. For now, let's take a look at the highlights. President Uhuru Kenyatta cautions BODA operators against being exploited by politicians.
What we are now doing, the three ministries, Interior, Health and Education, we are auditing the process of the last 2 weeks. And if a decision shall be made, it will be made based on facts. Nobody is thinking of closing the schools again.
Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha rules out closure of schools in the wake of surging coronavirus infections. And the defiant pandemic, 14 Kenyans die of COVID-19 as the country records 631 new cases. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is Jacky, Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Simon Karutha. Interact with us on our Twitter handle at KBC Channel 1 or at Jacky Wambiru. Now, to kick us off, President Uhuru Kenyatta has urged BODA operators not to be used by politicians seeking to advance their selfish political interests ahead of 2022. Speaking after meeting officials from the BODA Safety Association at Pumwani in Nairobi, the head of state said it was very unfortunate that the industry was becoming a darling of the political elite when elections approached, saying it was time the players in the sector raised their stakes by investing prudently to ward off the political predators.
Addressing officials of the BODA Safety Association at Pumwani Social Hall, President Uhuru Kenyatta underscored the importance of a sector he described as a silent economic miracle, saying it remains a critical player in the country. The president challenged the operators to be cognizant of what he termed as principles of life that include taking pride in paying the price for what one wants, as well as prioritizing paying oneself first.
Hapa isipokuwa usaidizi wa serikali wafika kiwango sio ya kuwapatia, lakini ya kuwasaidia kuorganize njia za kuinvest that are secure. And you must make sure that kila mmoja of your members anafungua simu, anaona pesa yake katika account yake ya KCB na anaisoma na anajua balance yangu leo, pesa yangu iko hapa. Yeah? Sio ile ya kusema pesa yako bado iko pana.
He said it was unfortunate that players in the sector were becoming a magnet of political actors who want to advance their selfish, narrow political interests by just misusing them, then dump them once achieving their ends.
Please build that trust and reduce this trust deficit that currently exists. And I am sure you will be very successful and be very, very prosperous.
Today, we are able to demonstrate that we've worked very closely with the BODA Safety Association as the first cohort of youth that we're working with, where they are able to transform not only their sector, but the country as a whole.
President Kenyatta said the BODA sector has grown into a multi-billion industry and has the potential to make more money than all the 47 counties receive from the national government if the investors in the sector inculcate the culture of saving.
What we're seeing today is that they're taking their own initiative and really transforming their sector and not waiting for the government. They're heeding your call, saying that we can stand up and actually change and transform a sector ourselves. And this is what they're doing.
Addressing a crowd outside the hall, President Kenyatta rallied Kenyans to support BBI report, saying it was the magic stick to pull Kenyans from the divisive politics.
Na tumekubaliana ya kwamba tukitenda mambo haya ambaye tumesema yako ndani ya BBI, Wakenya hawatagombana tena. Tukisema tukifanya mambo haya, tutahakikisha usawa katika ugawaji wa rasilimali ambaye ni kodi yenu ambaye inasanywa, na kila Mkenya atakuwa na haki yake, sio kugojea rais atasema nini. Wewe unasoma katiba, unajua haki yako ni nini. Sio rais kuja kusema wewe nitakupa hii, wewe nitakupa hii, wewe nitakupa ile.
He said the report was born of the desire to cure the high-octane politics that have characterized Kenya every election year, but said it was prerogative of Kenyans to read the document and make informed decision.
Kama tunapigana kwa sababu wengine wanaona wamewachwa nje ya serikali, tuunde serikali ambao kila jamii ya Kenya itajiona ndani ya serikali. Kuna shida jameni? Kunaye? Wenzangu mutaniunga mkono tafadhali. Tutatembea pamoja.
Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Channel 1 News.
And on matters related to COVID-19, Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha has affirmed that schools will remain open despite the spike in positive cases of COVID-19 in the country. While calling for collaborative effort in ensuring the safety of learners, Magoha confirmed that about 3 million learners in Class 8, Grade 4 and Form 4 have resumed learning in the first phase of reopening. This comes as a Form 4 student in Machakos tested positive for COVID-19.
The Form 4 student at Muumando Secondary School in Kalama Sub-County of Machakos County tested positive in results received after tests were conducted when the students returned to the school last week. Confirming the reports, Machakos County Health CEC Dr. Ansent Kituki said the student, 4 teachers and 12 students who came into contact with him are currently in isolation as they await results of their COVID-19 tests. However, Education CS Professor George Magoha sought to reassure education stakeholders that learning will continue as about 3 million learners in Class 8, Grade 4 and Form 4 had resumed learning in the first phase of reopening.
Since the bars were open, certain things have happened and we have had spikes. And what we are now doing, the 3 ministries, Interior, Health and Education, we are auditing the process of the last 2 weeks. And if a decision shall be made, it will be made based on facts. Nobody is thinking of closing the schools again, and nobody is thinking of rushing to reopen the others.
Magoha emphasized the need to ensure their safety in schools as the government monitors the situation in the country.
We are happy that we opened schools for 3 million of our children in Grade 4, Standard 8 and Form 4. And we are also very happy to announce that so far there is nothing major that has happened that can shake our resolve. Both the Ministries of Health and Education, together with the Ministry of Interior, are continuously monitoring the progress of our children.
Speaking in Kakamega during a tour of schools in the Western region, Magoha also dismissed reports that the government was yet to deliver desks as promised.
The desks are being produced. There are many of my colleagues across the country who are doing exactly the same thing we are doing. The contracts were awarded as per government schedule. The very first ones have already completed, and we are now ensuring that payment is done after work is certified.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Association of International Schools has announced that it has put on hold their earlier advice to recall other year groups, which was expected to commence on the 26th of October 2020. A circular by the association further directed learning institutions to adopt a hybrid model that incorporates in-person and virtual learning to minimize the number of learners present in school at a time. For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Ouma.
And away from education matters, 14 more people have died in the last 24 hours from COVID-19, with 16 others fighting for their lives in the high dependency units in various hospitals, and 59 others are on supplement oxygen. In the same period, the country recorded 631 new cases from 6,142 samples tested, indicating a 10.3% positivity rate.
Kenya in the last 24 hours registered 631 new coronavirus cases from 6,142 samples tested, an indication that the country is not out of the woods yet. In the same period, 14 more people succumbed to the virus from a previous record of 12 people, bringing the total number of fatalities to 884. The number of patients on life support in the intensive care unit dropped to 20 from 47 reported on Thursday, while those on supplementary oxygen increasing from 45 to 59, while 16 are in the high dependency unit. Those currently admitted in various health facilities are 1,142, and 3,238 are home-based isolation and care. The total caseload in the country now stands at 47,843, with the cumulative tests at 646,367. The new cases were spread out within 32 counties, with Nairobi County leading with 235 cases. The ministry also said 371 people have recovered from the disease, 313 from the home-based care program, while 58 have been discharged from various hospitals, bringing the total number of recoveries to 33,421. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
of leaders are urging Kenyans to carefully dissect the Building Bridges initiative and make the right decision. The leaders warned that the document is seeking to fundamentally alter the architect of the governance structure of the country, and Kenyans should not fall prey to politician machinations. Now, already the Kenya National Union of Nurses has poked holes into the report, claiming it does not capture its recommendations.
The nurses have expressed dissatisfaction with the proposal by the Building Bridges Initiative report, proposing the creation of a National Health Service Commission that they say will not address their welfare as they had proposed.
Lakini ile tume ambao imependekezwa na ile jopo kazi la BBI ni tume ambayo inawekwa katika Health Act, kwa hivyo inakaa kama tu department ndani ya Wizara ya Afya. Haina uwezo wa kuajiri wahudumu wa afya, haina uwezo wa kuwalipa mishahara, haina uwezo ya kuwapeleka shuleni, haina uwezo ya kufanyia chochote. Yale majukumu ambao wamepewa ni majukumu ya kutengeneza policy.
Speaking in Isiolo County after the National Governing Council meeting, leaders of the Kenya National Union of Nurses, through Secretary General Seth Panyako, said the health workers were demanding a constitutional commission with full powers to hire and fire. According to Panyako, the commission that has been proposed as a statutory body under the amendment of the Health Act of 2017 is not what the health workers were expecting from the task force. Elsewhere, Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua is urging Kenyans to avoid falling prey to politicians out to protect their interest. Speaking in Mombasa County, Governor Mutua said the Building Bridges report will be dealt a miserable blow if its architects fail to have a common consensus with competing interests.
Sasa wametushikana tena na Raila Odinga. Tunaletewa BBI, tuwe na uhusiano mwema. Inaonekana hii mikutano yote ya kushikana mkono, shida sio wa Kenya kuwa pamoja. Kwa sababu ingekuwa ni kushikana tu tuwe pamoja, wangeshikana waendelee kuwa pamoja na Ruto. Sasa inakuwa mnasema hii ni mpangilio wa kuwa, inaonekana tukikaribia kura Wakenya wanaletwa pamoja wakiambiwa kwamba tutaletwa pamoja, tutakuwa sawa, tutakuwa na amani, tushikane mkono. Inakuwa ni kama political gimmick.
Kitabu hiki kina maana zaidi. Kinatoa nia ile ambayo iko mstari wa mbele kabisa, ni kuhakikisha Wakenya wote kutoka Mandera, kama vile MC alisema, mpaka hapa Sipili, kutoka hapa kwenda mpaka wetu na Uganda, mpaka wetu na Ethiopia, mpaka wetu na pwani kule, Kenya nzima iwe ni kitu kimoja.
In Nairobi County, the United Green Movement Party is calling on Kenyans to reject the BBI report, claiming it fails the test of its aspirations. The party's Secretary General Jonathan Mweke says the objective of the report shows no evidence of building bridges to a united Kenya, nor does it solve the problems of Kenyans.
The United Green Movement Party would like to caution Kenyans that this Building Bridges Initiative Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 is a poisoned chalice that should be rejected in its totality. And its objective shows no evidence to building bridges to a united Kenya, nor does it solve the problems Kenyans said they face.
And the Service Party of Kenya leader Mwangi Kionjuri has today revealed that the party will give its position on BBI report next week. According to Kionjuri, the party has hired the service of prominent lawyers to read and advise the party on the way forward, warning that it would be tragic for the country to go on to referendum under the current division.
Kama hii katiba itakuwa baya, ambayo itatengenezwa itakuwa katiba ya nchi ya Kenya, na ndiye itatutawala. It will be the constitution of the Republic of Kenya. Lakini tukijadiliana, tunaweza keti chini kama Wakenya, kama viongozi, ili tusianze kusema ati huyu ni mtego umewekewa fulani.
Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Still on matters BBI, women leaders have poked holes into the Building Bridges Initiative report, claiming it has failed to fully address the thorny two-thirds gender rule conundrum, especially in the National Assembly and the Executive. Speaking during a women's leaders briefing on the report, the speaker said BBI should not erode the gains made by the 2010 Constitution. Though they acknowledged that the document meant good for Kenya, they want a national conversation that will bridge not only ethnic but gender divides across the country.
The BBI report that is scheduled to be officially launched on Monday at Bomas has ignited a national conversation that could inform major changes in the country's legislative agenda. Women leaders under the Common Women Agenda and Coalition of Women Leaders want more deliberations to seal gaps that exist in the report in its current form as pertains the two-thirds gender rule.
But even as we are happy with the gains, we also cannot keep quiet when an omission has been noticed. An omission on the executive, the protection in the executive, and an omission in the National Assembly, that there are no guaranteed seats for women.
Conversation continues. Our expectation is that this matter of the two-thirds implementation mechanism in the National Assembly will be firmly, explicitly, and finally be addressed to ensure fully implementation of the two-thirds gender rule in both houses.
While appreciating that the document offers huge gains for women, especially with the Senate proposal that will have 50-50 representation of elected women and men, they said the BBI conversation must give a two-thirds implementation mechanism in the National Assembly to ensure the full implementation of the two-thirds gender rule in both houses. Sentiments echoed by Murang'a Women Representative Sabina Shege.
Jambo ambalo limetufikia ni kwamba ametoa kiti cha kina mama katika bunge kile cha women rep na wamepeleka Senate, ambapo sasa tutakuwa na maseneta wawili, wa kiume na wa kike. Nasema Senate ni vizuri wamekuwa na formula ambayo imekuwa sasa 100%, imekuwa 50-50. Na pia ile ya deputy governors tunafurahia sana ya kwamba atakuwa wa jinsia tofauti. Governor akiwa mama, deputy wake wa kiume. Lakini hii maneno ya women rep kuondolewa kwenye National Assembly sio jambo nzuri, kwa sababu wale wakina mama ambao walikuwa wale 47 ndio hata waliwezesha namba zikawa nyingi.
On her part, nominated Senator Gertrude Musuruve noted that the BBI had failed to adequately address the representation of persons living with disability in Parliament.
Remember, in the Senate, women with disabilities have lost what they already had, the guarantee of one man, one woman with disability to represent. So that guarantee we don't have anymore. So our fellow women should make sure that they are bringing us on board. They are bringing women with disabilities on board. As we talk about women, let's talk about also women with disabilities in decision making.
Musuruve saying the document offers hope, urging Kenyans to carefully scrutinize the contents for purposes of bettering it.
When it comes to voting, we nominated senators do not have voting rights, but in this document, all senators will have voting rights. And even when it comes to being really seen on the ground, they'll be more effective.
Some of the immediate gains offered to women by the report include governor and deputy governor being of opposite gender with the deputy assigned a portfolio, political parties bound to give IEBC a list of candidates that is two-thirds gender rule compliant, protection and entrenchment of Article 43, rights of health, food, water, security as priority budget items in public finance, protection against sexual and gender-based violence. Caroline Kamau reporting for Channel 1 News Now.
On that note, we take a break. Scales of Justice is up next.
The procedure of reporting assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority simplified in the following easy steps. Step 1. Write an email to holders at ufaa.go.ke to request your profile to be created. Step 2. A link will be sent to the email provided for activation of the account. Step 3. Click on the link to activate the profile and change the password immediately. Step 4. For subsequent access, use the link provided here. In case of forgotten password, use forgot password link to create a new one. Step 5. After login, click on Assets to submit records, and if the client has subsidiary, you can create more users and manage users. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Eight-time CAF Champions League winner Al Ahly of Egypt inched closer to qualifying for the finals of the prestigious cup when they humbled twice champions Wydad Casablanca by 2-0 in the first leg semi-final encounter played last Saturday in Morocco.
You've got to be careful. Oh, it's an easy chance. This is one-on-one with the goalkeeper. It's in the back of the net. There's your goal. To make it 2-0 for Ali. Ali Malul, he slots it in, blasts into the corner.
This Friday, the 23rd of October 2020, Al Ahly hosts Wydad in the second leg semi-final clash. The match kicks off at 10 p.m. Catch the action live on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
I want to tell all those, if you're found with a lump, you go right away, because it could change from to go to a stage 2, if it was stage 1, or what they call stages, or spread. That's when they confirmed I have cancer. And the doctor who broke the news to me they were very gentle. He said, you know, it's a very, very early stage, and we have no doubt we can treat you fully. This disease, catching it early, it's the key. Because we cannot say we'll prevent it. I tell you, cancer is all over the world. It's not just specific.
We actually want to reduce cancer.
Completely.
And thank you for being the advocate of prevention.
Welcome back. Now let's proceed where Malindi legislator Aisha Jumwa has been freed on a 4 million shilling cash bail after being charged with the murder of 48-year-old Gumbau Jilo during the Ganda ward by-election last year. Her co-accused Jeffrey Otieno was also released on a 1.5 million cash bail with an alternative of a 1 million shillings bond. Now Mombasa High Court Lady Justice Njoki Mwangi says she did not find any compelling reasons to continue holding the two who had already spent a week at the Port Police Station in Mombasa.
It was a moment of relief for Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Jumwa after a Mombasa High Court granted her and her bodyguard cash bail after spending a restless week at the Port Police Station in Mombasa. Aisha was freed on a 4 million shillings cash bail with an alternative of a 3 million shillings bond, while his co-accused Geoffrey Otieno was released on a 1.5 million shillings cash bail with an alternative of a 1 million shillings bond. The two are being accused of allegedly murdering 48-year-old Ngumbao Jola during the Ganda ward by-elections last year after igniting chaos at an opposition camp. Yesterday, the two pleaded not guilty to the charge, urging the court to grant them bail as the case proceeds from the 3rd of November this year. While delivering her ruling on Friday morning, Lady Justice Njoki Mwangi said reasons given by the prosecution in seeking to continue holding Jumwa and her bodyguard were not compelling enough.
The accused persons are warned not to interfere, intimidate or threaten witnesses during the hearing of the murder case against them.
Mwangi further ordered the two to surrender their passports as well as avail themselves for court proceedings whenever they are summoned.
They will be at liberty to apply for temporary release of the said passports should need arise for them to travel out of the country. Such a request or request shall be accompanied by supporting documents to establish the purpose of their exit from Kenya, and their return date to the country must be disclosed.
Juni Karisambele for Channel 1 News Hour from Mombasa County.
A 4-year-old boy has died and 2 others injured after they were attacked by a swarm of bees in Ainamoi, Kericho County. Residents say attempts to rush him to hospital were hampered owing to the poor road network. Meanwhile, 3 people have been arrested with 48 kilograms of elephant tusks in Trans Nzoia County.
The family of the 4-year-old boy in Bechulelat village, Ainamoi constituency, is yet to come to terms with his death. The minor is reported to have been in the company of 2 other boys when they were attacked by a swarm of bees.
Ikabidi sasa semeji akimbie kwake kuleta blanketi kusaidia mtoto mmoja mdogo wa 5 months. Kurudi tena huyu semeji alipookoa huyu mtoto wa 5 months akapeleka. Bahati mbaya mwingine hakujulikana penye alikuwa.
Neighbors say they heard screams and managed to save the boys. However, attempts to get medical care were hampered owing to the poor road network, and the nearest Ainamoi hospital had been demarcated as a COVID-19 isolation center.
Hapa kwetu hakuna mabarabara mazuri, ikabidi hao watoto wapelekwe moja kwa moja, wawili kwa boda, alafu kurudi ya 3 kuchukua yule alikuwa amefahamiwa sana na nyuki. Kufika hospitali akaambiwa wapeleke huyo mwenye alikuwa mbaya, mwenye alikuwa wa mwisho kupatikana kupelekwa Kericho County Referral Hospital. Akapata usaidizi mpaka akaongea, ingawa alikuwa na shida ya kufura mwili wote. Akaongea kidogo akamwambia baba yake turudi. Madaktari walisaidia lakini haukuwezekana.
One of the boys is admitted at Kericho County Hospital while the other was treated and discharged. They are now demanding the repair of the roads.
Tusaidie kwa sababu hapa ni kama pembeni kabisa ya county, Kericho County. Hapa kuanzia hapa hakuna stima kwa mfano, hospitali maji hakuna.
Meanwhile, 3 people are in custody after they were nabbed in possession of 48 kilograms of elephant tusks in Trans Nzoia. Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers arrested the suspects as they were seeking potential buyers.
In their possession, they had 3 bags, and inside the 3 bags, they had stacked inside some 8 pieces of elephant tusks.
Area County Commander Frederick Ochieng said they had posed as buyers and managed to stop the sale of 8 elephant tusks.
The officers, having presented themselves as buyers, then they happened to intercept those suspected poachers. They were brought to Kitale Police Station, where they had been arraigned before court this morning, charged with being in possession of game trophy.
In other news, a mother of 4 who allegedly survived an attempt on her life by her husband is demanding his arrest and prosecution. Maureen Anyango Sijeni says her husband slit her throat, leaving her for dead following a domestic row. More details in the county news.
A tearful Asijeni narrates how she had an altercation with her husband earlier in the day, which was later resolved following an intervention by the local pastor. She thought the matter had been resolved and retired to bed. It is then that her husband allegedly pounced on her with a machete and slit her throat.
Niliona uso ya bwana yangu kama anang'ang'ana na mimi. Na vile nilishtuka, nilisikia ni kama kitu inanikata huku.
A quick intervention by her son and neighbors saved her life. She's now demanding justice, accusing the police of laxity in arresting and prosecuting her husband. Meanwhile, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has lauded the government for moving in to resettle some of the communities in the Mau Forest. The Commission noted that this will help address cases of inhumane evictions that have been recorded in the water tower for over 25 years, leaving families to sleep in the cold.
We are quite certain that the communities now will appreciate the existence of forests not look at them as a source of livelihood, because at least the government will have guaranteed their livelihood.
And the Parliamentary Committee on Administration and National Security has revealed the need for the police to get frequent trainings on new laws and legislation that is geared towards improving the service of the officers. Committee Chair Paul Koinange said that poor infrastructure was another concern, coupled by other working environments that make it hard for officers to execute their duties effectively.
We are pursuing to see that they have mobile psychosocial officers who will go to different police stations, because we cannot have centers all over the country. And that one will really help them, because that one now, it will help us to remove the stress that is there among the police.
The committee is on a fact-finding mission in Mombasa. Separately, health workers in Migori County are threatening to go on strike due to delayed payments of their September salaries. Through their union, the medics have given the county government until Friday next week to pay them.
Ikipofika Monday ambaye ni Jumatatu, kila mfanyakazi ambaye tarehe 26 mfanyakazi lolote afuate kamili, moja kwa moja tutaenda kwa ofisi ya county government kuuliza haki ya mfanyakazi.
In Kisumu, widows, elderly persons and orphans in Ombei village have benefited from donations from well-wishers to cushion them from the COVID-19 pandemic. The ongoing program carried out by community healthcare volunteers under the Widows Harvest International has reached well over 1,500 beneficiaries in parts of Nyando and Muhoroni constituencies.
During this pandemic, actually from February, it has been so bad and so hard economically to some widows. In fact, we have reached so many that are bedridden. Right now, there are about 5 widows that we take food to them. We cook food and take to them. And then you take to them and you reach there, they cannot take the food into their mouth because they are so sick.
A woman in Makueni accused of slashing a Makueni-based lawyer, Onesmus Masaku, with a machete will be detained at Machakos police station.
It's also necessary, as is the practice now, that the suspect be tested for COVID, so that in the event that bond is not granted, as we shall be praying, then she can be remanded in custody.
She failed to take plea for the 3rd time in a row after the prosecution sought more time for her to undergo a mental and COVID-19 test. She's expected in court on 10th of November. Her charges were amended to murder from a previous charge of attempted murder. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
In the business world, governors want the implementation of the Coffee General Regulations 2019 to start on the 1st of November this year as opposed to the July 2021 time. The devolved units further want the government to scrap the requirement for coffee traders to deposit 100 million shillings bank guarantee in order to be given operating license.
Following amendment of the Capital Markets Act, the spot commodities market was brought under regulatory oversight of Capital Markets Authority to strengthen governance of players and provide protection to consumers. In April this year, the Capital Markets Coffee Exchange Regulations 2020 was gazetted and gave the CMA the mandate to license the coffee exchange and brokers. With the Crops Coffee General Regulations 2019, CMA was once again mandated to license coffee exchange and the coffee broker since July 1st, 2021. The Council of Governors have, however, raised a red flag on these new regulations, stating that counties were never consulted on their formulation. In a statement, the governors say those regulations will need fresh review together with the Presidential Task Force on Coffee Reforms and Parliament. Further, the governors and the Senate Standing Committee on Agriculture in Mombasa have called on the Ministry of Agriculture and CMA to scrap the requirement of 100 million shillings bank guarantee for coffee traders before they are issued with a trading license.
That with immediate effect, the Ministry of Agriculture and the Capital Markets Authority shall ensure that the requirements of the $1 million bank guarantee is no longer a requirement to the farmers in coffee trading their coffee.
Alan Naoko, Channel 1 Business.
Tea exports fell by 14,000 tons in the first 8 months of this year due to a drop in demand from traditional markets. Data from the Tea Directorate shows export volumes for Kenyan tea for the period between January to August dropped from 337,000 tons in 2019 to 323,000 tons in 2020.
The global tea market size was valued at $55 billion in 2019 and is projected to reach $69 billion in 7 years' time. The sector is expected to register an annualized growth rate of 6.6% from 2020 to 2027. However, the industry is expected to register less growth this year, occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has depressed demand in world consumption markets. The effect is now being felt in Kenya, where export volumes dropped by 14,000 tons in the first 8 months of this year. Data from the Tea Directorate shows that the drop was as a result of 7% drop in exports to Pakistan and a 14% drop in exports to Egypt, the country's top 2 buyers of the produce. Pakistan remains Kenya's largest market, shipping about 36% of the total production. Kenya is the world's leading producer and exporter of black tea, and it has been diversifying to green and purple tea that fetches premium returns on the global market. Despite the fall in export volumes, production in the 8 months grew by 33% to stand at 375,000 tons against 281,000 tons in the same period in 2019. Earnings from black tea export increased by 22% in half year 1 of 2020 to hit 69 billion shillings compared to 56.5 billion shillings for the same period last year. The Directorate expects a slight improvement in exports going forward as the world recovers from the pandemic.
Now, governors are threatening to move to court to compel the national government hands over all agricultural functions to the devolved units. Now, the governors have further vowed to scuttle Treasury's budget process if 10% of the total budget is not allocated to agriculture. The county bosses have further urged the Senate to undertake a review of all laws that touch on agriculture to align them with the Constitution.
Since 2013, a row has been simmering between the national government and the devolved units over the management of the agricultural sector in the country. The supremacy wars between the two levels of government has crippled some services like the extension services, threatening food production in the country. County governors have today issued an ultimatum to the Ministry of Agriculture to convene a stakeholders meeting to thrash out thorny issues. The governors, together with the Senate Standing Committee on Agriculture, have agreed to initiate a review of all laws in the sector within 6 months that came into force before the promulgation of the Constitution.
It has been noted with great concern that the Ministry of Agriculture has continued to develop legislative and regulatory framework in the sector without any involvement of county governments. Further, the ministry has deliberately fragmented the cooperative societies rather than taking an approach to strengthen them.
The county leaders have also agreed to allocate at least 10% of their annual budget to the agriculture sector.
Council of Governors hereby notifies development partners that programs and projects that are not discussed and agreed upon with the counties will not be implemented in any county. All the development partners therefore must directly involve the county governments through the Council of Governors in the development and implementation of the agriculture-related programs and projects in the counties.
Due to the disputes arising from the management of the agriculture sector, the governors and Senate have agreed to explore alternative dispute resolution mechanisms to resolve their dispute within the national government.
The Senate shall summon the Cabinet Secretary of Agriculture to elaborate the policy framework that is being applied to undertake the ongoing agricultural reforms by the ministry. We shall engage the national government to ensure that resources for the devolved functions are transferred to county governments are not included as a vote in the Ministry of Agriculture budget.
The governors further want the 2013 report of the Presidential Task Force on Parastatal Reforms to be made public with immediate effect. The report proposed various guidance on the merger of some parastatals in the agricultural sector to avoid duplication of duties. Juni Karisa Mbele from Mombasa County.
Well, now in sports news, Harambee Stars tactician Jacob Gosmule says they will ensure that all professional players link up with the team ahead of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Comoros in November. Mule was handed the role on a 3-year contract after Francis Kimanzi left by a mutual consent. Now, in the last international friendly against Zambia, Kenya missed the services of a number of professional players. Among the professionals who missed the Zambia friendly, which Kenya won 2-1, include goalkeeper Arnold Origi, Captain Victor Wanyama, midfielder Johanna Omolo, defender Joseph Akumu, and striker Michael Olunga. Nigerian midfielder John Ogu has called on his teammates to boycott upcoming matches in protest at the country's government. Ogu, who has 24 caps, said a boycott would make a statement. On Tuesday, Manchester United forward Odion Igalo called his country's government a shame to the world. There have been weeks of protest in Nigeria, with mostly young people demanding the disbandment of a notorious police unit, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. Now, Nigeria's army has denied killing demonstrators, and the country's President Muhammadu Buhari has urged protesters to stop demonstrating and engage with the government. Well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin this evening. My name is Jacky, and our sign language interpreter is Simon Karuda. Have a good night.
Kirichu residents, it's another one of those nights where we stay by the fireplace because 10 degrees Celsius makes your county the coldest tonight. Hello there, and my name is Yusuf Farah. Many thanks for keeping it Channel 1. This is your Channel 1 with the updates now. Rainfall expected in areas of the northwest, western, central and parts of the eastern region tonight. Tomorrow morning, this is what we are waking up to. Areas of Kisumu, Kirichu and Nyeri expect light rains with sunny intervals. For residents of the coastal region, expect showers in the morning accompanied by sunny intervals. In the afternoon, things take a change. Showers accompanied by thunderstorms in areas of Kisumu, Kericho, Eldoret and Narok, and the same for Kisii as well. For residents of the coastal region, how about that walk by the beach or a swim, because sunny intervals with partly cloudy conditions dominate your afternoon. Looking at the temperatures now, on Mandera highs of 37, lows of 27, Garissa highs of 36, lows of 24, and for Lamu residents highs of 31 and lows of 26. That wraps up the weather forecast for the local as far as it's concerned. The international weather forecast comes up shortly. Make a date with me tomorrow again, same time, same place. Until then, have a good night.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah Muhammad bin Abdullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahu bi ihsani ila yaumiddin wa ba'd. Baada kurudisha shukrani kwa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala na kumtakia rehma na amani kipenzi chake mtume wetu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, sinabudi kurudisha shukrani kwa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kunirudisha tena hapa kuwa na nyinyi tena. Naam. Katika kipindi chetu kilichopita tulikuwa tukizungumzia mambo ya haki za wanawake. Naam, tutaendelea kuhusu haki za wanawake. Na Khadija alikuwaje katika biashara zake? Na utafanya vipi ili biashara yako ili iweze kudumu na iweze kuinuka? Tulisema Nana Khadija radhiallahu anhu alikuwa muaminifu. Vile vile pia tukasema Mtume sallallahu alayhi wasallam amesema katika hadithi yake, al-amanatul izz, amana ya mtu hufanya nini? Hutukuzwa. Tukiangalia vile vile kitomboka kilimsaidia Nana Khadija katika biashara yake ifanye ienuke ni ukweli, sidq, ukweli. Ukweli husaidia vitu vingi katika biashara yako. Wewe ukiwa mkweli, mtu aweza pita kutoka maduka yote akaja kanunua duka lako, kwa sababu yajua mimi hata nikienda pale kununua kwenye duka la Ustadha Sofia nitapata, hata kama alikuwa na mahamri ya jana ataniambia haya mahamri dadangu, haya mahamri ya jana, lakini kama utanunua nunua, kama utaacha acha. Lakini utaona kwa ulimwengu huu wetu wa sasa tumeweka urongo mbele sana. Tumeweka urongo mbele, ndio maana hatuwezi kuendelea. Lazima tuwe na toa ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Lazima tumjue mtume wetu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Lazima tusome sira za maswahaba zetu ndio tuweze kuelewa dini ni nini na tutaweza kuendelea mbele. Tukiendelea na kisa cha Nana Khadija radhiallahu anha, tulisema Nana Khadija alikuwa na wafanyikazi wengi sana. Na wafanyikazi kama wale Nana Khadija alikuwa amewaajiri na alikuwa akiwalipa mishahara yao. Hakuwahi kukosa kumlipa mfanyikazi wake mshahara. Katika waajiri wa Nana Khadija alikuwa ni mtume wetu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam yeye aliajiriwa na nana yetu Khadija radhiallahu anha. Ndio tujue mwanamke unawezaje kujiboresha mpaka ukawa wewe unaweza kumiliki kuajiri mtu yeyote. Utawezaje kuweka ule uaminifu wako wewe ili watu waweze kukuamini hadi aseme mimi acha nikaandike kazi mahali fulani. Kwa sababu lazima uweke ile sidq. Lazima uweke ile sidq mbele yako, ndio watu wataweza kukuamini na biashara yako ndio itaweza kuinuka. Tukiendelea vile vile na katika hadithi ya Mtume sallallahu alayhi wasallam alosema tumogope Mwenyezi Mungu katika wanawake. Wanawake kama nilivyoelezea ni viumbe dhaifu sana. Hawawezi kujisimamia. Na mwanamke mara nyingi utaona utaona mwanamke katika vitu vingi sana lazima atakuwa kando yake ana mtu ambao yuamboost. Lazima kama si ndugu yake, kama si brother yake, kama si kazini yake, kama si nani, yomsaidia katika kumsukuma katika ile biashara. Utaona katika sahi ukitoka sahi utaona town kama kumejaa watu tele. Sahi kuna mtu anauza vitambara apate riski yake. Kuna wale watu ambao kama sahi wamefutwa kazi, mtu hajui mimi nilikuwa mwalimu, lakini sahi ninafutwa kazi ya ualimu, sina kazi ya kufanya, nitafanya nini? Kuna kazi nyingi za kufanya. Unaweza kujishughulisha na kuuza vitu nje, waweza tafuta matunda ukanunua ukauza. Ile pia itakusaidia katika uchumi wako wewe. Lakini katika Uislamu hatujakataza wanawake kufanya biashara. Ila kama umeolewa lazima uwe na radhi za nani? Za mumeo. Mumeo amekupa zile radhi za kwenda kufanya ile biashara. Jambo lingine katika kufanya ile biashara, lazima kama mwanamke wa Kiislamu uwe umejistiri. Lazima uwe umejistiri. Huwezi kwenda kuuza ile biashara yako ambapo kama wafanya ukajieka uchi, ukajieka ambapo kama wewe hauna stara, mwanamke umekosa stara, hauheshimiki. Hauwezi utakosa baraka katika ile biashara yako. Tukiangalia katika jambo lingine ambapo kama ni muhimu zaidi katika biashara katika Uislamu, lazima ujipange na imani. Lazima ujipambe na imani na qadar. Lazima ujue kuna qadar. Lazima ujue kuna qadar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala akikuruzuku uweza kwenda asubuhi, mchana, wewe mchana mzima ukauza katika mchana mzima kwenye jua ukose kuuza kitu chochote. Lakini ujue ile ni kadari ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Usivunjike moyo, endelea kuuza, endelea. Mwenyezi Mungu Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala atakupa baraka na atakupa taufika inshallah. Mpaka hapa inshallah, wa ila huna antahi wa aqul assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.